Murph, look, it looks pretty sharp today. We may want to tighten the tie up a little later, though. We could try to make it a little more official looking. Looking good. I know I can wear that outfit behind the bench.
Hey, Rick, understanding that Josh isn't going to be in the rest of the series, just wondering if you've talked to him today, if you've seen him, what his spirits are like, what he's...
I haven't spoken with him today. I spoke with him a couple of times last night. I'll touch base with him later today. We got a late text from him last night. He's pretty bummed. You know, there's a guy with a lot of pride he knows the importance of his presence on the ice and in the room, and he's a competitive guy who wants to play. So he's pretty bummed out right now.
Passion and emotion too in his game and his personality. A lot of guys talking about that could be his support system for this. What is going to be Josh's role with the team until he gets back?
He'll be around. He'll be hanging around and encouraging, and we want his presence felt around the room. But now we need other guys obviously to step up, and which they did a phenomenal job of last night. All 5 of those guys will play 6 tomorrow night. Maybe even throw a 7 out there. We'll see tomorrow what it looks like. But yeah, so we want Josh around, and we know the other guys are going to pick up the slack here.
I'm foreshadowing a we'll see on this one. I don't want to put it in your mouth, but not practicing today, obviously the game tomorrow. Do you have a plan in place for who will be replacing Josh? Who do you expect to bring in? Give you the yes or no answer.
Yeah.
Is there a certain ability you want out of, like, what Josh, obviously you can't replicate what Josh brings to the game, but is there an element, just what you've seen through the first 3 games of the series, that you think is important to have the blue line, that, you know, to ultimately replace him? Or are you going to see a lot of what Josh does replaced by the guys who are kind of already in the lineup?
The guys that are in the lineup, they're going to play their games, and whoever we put in tomorrow, they're going to play their game. They're not going to. They're not Josh Morrissey, so we just expect them to play to their strengths. Whoever we put in tomorrow, just play to your strengths, and we'll be fine. The other guys did that last night, and it worked out. So we'll expect the same thing for tomorrow.
I think you said yes to the question of do you know who the guy is? So I have to. Who's the guy? Who's number 6 tomorrow?
We'll see tomorrow. Good try.
Thank you. Nate Schmidt seemed to say, if I followed him right, that Morrissey actually had some words, whether it was X's and O's, sharing kind of his hockey IQ yesterday, or maybe even some emotional stuff that he said was between him. But what did Morrissey say? What was his question? I
wasn't around when he spoke to the players. You know, he would go in there, probably in the training room, because he didn't go too far from there last night. And you know, so, but listen, Josh is a great teammate. He does have a very high hockey IQ, and whatever he was seeing, we would hope that he would pass that along to his teammates.
Dylan Sandberg just sat here, and it looked like, gosh, his emotions are on his face right now, even though he knows it was a bounce, he's playing well, all of those sorts of things. So what's the process with him to get a good game out of him again?
Yeah, well, we just we talked to him right after the game last night. I gave him a late call last night just to check on him, and we move on. He has no choice. The team has no choice. That stuff happens. That's hockey. The stuff that you can't control sometimes. Hits a stick, it hits a skate, things rolling and bouncing, the guy puts it in that. They got the lucky bounce with that last night, and we have no choice. Now he's a young guy, and it's easier said than done. Okay, we're moving on here. A veteran could probably, a guy who's been around the league 7-8 years would move on a lot quicker than a young guy. And so we'll make sure that we're doing everything we can to support him. He got a tremendous amount of support from his teammates last night, and that was huge. But we talked about it in the room. We touched base with him after, and we'll just keep touching base with him. And listen, we have to win tomorrow night, so we got to get ready for tomorrow, and we move on from last night as best we can.
What did you guys do, to feed their transition early in yesterday's game, and how did you sort of get away from that and improve?
To say that again, sorry?
What did you guys do to feed Vegas sort of their transition game and their attack game early on in yesterday, and then how did you fix that going forward?
We had to make some adjustments with our forecheck. We're still giving up too many unnecessary shots and unnecessary chances on the rush, and we are. And we tightened it up a little bit as the game went on, and we'll address it again tomorrow. I think I don't like the chances they're getting on the rush. And we did tighten it up as the game went on. We made some adjustments. We have to fine-tune a couple of things tomorrow as well.
Rick, I was hoping you could comment a bit on sort of the anatomy of your tying goal last night, because I think you had the puck in their zone for a good minute. A couple of key pins, Wheeler with the big one. Just everything that had to go right for you to get that goal and the job the guys did.
Yeah, I mean, we haven't scored a lot of 6-on-5 goals this year. We haven't. We've given up, I think, 17 empty netters. But it was all out desperation is what it was. And whatever it took to keep that puck in and give Neil Pionk a lot of credit, because he saw as the puck moved from side to side, it opened up, and he didn't hesitate to throw it down into the net. And it doesn't have to be the hardest shot; it has to get down to the net. And we had two guys down there with Vladdy and Adam. Unfortunately, we were able to bang home that rebound, but it took those things are mostly scrambles, and that's exactly what last night was. The puck is going over here, you got to win the race to keep it in. It comes over here, you got to win the race to get it back here. You get it up here, you got to be ready to put it on the net, and you got to have somebody there. So everything did kind of fall into place. But again, a lot of those empty net goals, you're just throwing the pucks down to the net and hoping for the best. And we had two guys down there, so that helped. But it did help that we were a little desperate trying to keep it in, that it did go east to west and up to the top and then right to the net.
Rick, you talked about Call and Dylan and trying to help them out. So much of coaching is X and O's, and that's what we focus on. How long did it take you to realize that part of your job is to be a psychologist, to be a cheerleader, to come in today and be positive so your team feed off of that? And how difficult is that for you?
Sometimes that's more important than the X and O's. A lot of times, and right now that is. So, but no, as the generations have changed, as I've been around the league, and I've said this before, there's more and more communication needed now. There's more and more coaching now than there was 20, 30 years ago. There is. And you have to be able to have the open relationship with all your players so you can talk to them at these tough times. So the communication is huge, and that is more important than the X and O's. I mean, you could have done this, you could have done that. That's irrelevant right now. It's how we help them to deal with it, and we will.
Rick, I know that Nick, you're going to say that Nick is day-to-day, but I'm just wondering, is he on the ice?
Nick is still on the ice, so I do not have an update on him. And we'll see how he gets through today, and we'll see how he feels tomorrow. But he's still on the ice. That's a good thing.
But he doesn't have the medical clearance yet?
He won't until we see how he feels today and tomorrow.
What went into the decision to flip Mark and Nino, and what did you get out of it?
Put what?
When you flipped Mark and Nino yesterday, what did you like what you saw after you made
Mark, Nino played with Doobie.
Right, you switched Shifley.
Oh, I switched them. Oh, I'm sorry. I see what your question is. Well, I figured we had milked that Shifley on the right wing as long as we could. We did, and they weren't generating enough. So Mark's a centerman. So it was after the first period I made that decision. Then, okay, that's not working right now. We need more offense. We weren't getting enough offense from the second line either. So I just kind of figured, you know what, we've milked this about as far as it's going to go, and that's exactly what I told Mark. We've pushed this as far as it'll go. It's time to put you back at center, so that's what we did.
Sure. And then just going back, you mentioned 7D a possibility, or you think you may dress 7 for the warm-up?
Well, I definitely have 7 for the warm-up. It's a possibility, yeah. We've done it once or twice before.
Yeah, and do you think you may call up someone like Villy as insurance now with Josh being out?
We'll have to call somebody up for insurance. We're certainly not going to call somebody up they haven't played in a long time and throw them into a game 4 of a playoff series against the top team in the West. So that would be a little bit unfair.
Just a quick one on going into Game 4. You guys had, Game 3 crowd was going nuts. The atmosphere was spectacular. Is there an art as a player to being able to channel all that energy in the right way, so you're not maybe running around looking for hits in your first few shifts? You're playing the game that you guys need to play to be successful.
Well, we want to build off what we did in the third period. That crowd was unreal yesterday. It's going to be unreal tomorrow. Probably, not giving up that early goal probably gave us some jitters with the crowd and everything. But I think as the game wore on, we played through that. Got better in the second, and obviously got a lot better in the third. And that first period in overtime was a good period as well. So I think, some of the guys the first time being exposed to that, it's a little nerve-wracking probably, but we played through it. Then now they know what to expect, and now we're leaving last night's game with a good feeling on how we battled back, and we did have a good overtime, and Doobie hits the post in overtime. That's how close a game that was. So we should be able to feed off of that tomorrow going into the game. Thanks.